And I'm going to jump right into it. Okay, so the evolution of search. So again, I think to understand where we're going, we can learn a lot of lessons from the past because there's a lot of sort of timeless things. So I think there's sort of three overall eras, and we're in between two. The era of optimizing for dumb robots, the era of optimizing for smart robots, and then optimizing for credibility, experience, and just getting attention in a crowded world. And I think we're kind of in between two, which is why it's a very fascinating time. So, okay, before even Google, there were these directories. I can barely even remember this. And the paradigm was you're a user, you go to a directory, you go to a website. And then Google came along, and it's kind of easy to underestimate like how big of a shift this was, where you could search the entire internet. It's wild. And it was just, there's 10 blue links. Things are very, very simple. And SEO is pretty easy in this era. It was easier to get attention. It was easier to rank. And there was a lot higher of a CTR, click-through rate, than there is now. The amount of data in the world was very negligible. There wasn't that much information, which meant you weren't competing with that many people. People didn't have these little dopamine devices in their pockets that had YouTube, Twitter X, podcasts, all this other stuff. And SEO was a very different game then than it was now. It was what I call optimizing for dumb robots. It was stuff like white on white text. It was, I'm going to create a unique page for every variation of a keyword, e-commerce fulfillment service, e-commerce fulfillment services, et cetera, et cetera. This would actually work well. Having links from blog post comments. And I actually believe that a lot of company and leadership expectations around SEO were set in this era and have been slow to evolve. And it's for this simple equation. There's all these weird tactics to rank. It doesn't make any sense if you're a traditional marketer. But if you ranked, it was easier to make money, and it just wasn't that competitive. Therefore, the goal of SEO is I want to rank for a bunch of keywords and drive traffic, and I don't need to do effective marketing. And honestly, I don't blame anyone for this, because companies and executives were conditioned that this would work. So it's like, okay, well, even though a lot of this weird SEO stuff doesn't make sense to me, as long as we get the traffic, it turns into money, I'm happy. So that's Google 1.0. Then we get to Google 2.0. And this is where SERP, by the way, SERP means search engine results page. So when you search something, it's everything that comes up. And that's when it starts to become more than two blue links. So in the old paradigm, it's just I'm a user, I go to Google, there's a SERP, and I go to a website. And now these things called rich results start to come in. So that's like, it's easy to forget that you used to be able to make, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars by ranking for what time does the Super Bowl start. Now we take it for granted that this is commoditized information. It's just out there. Google's going to tell it to me. No one's going to make any money off of it. And Google in the 2.0 era, things are already starting to change, right? It's harder to get attention. It's harder to rank, and click-through rates are getting lower. I'm going to go through all of those. So smartphones are becoming more ubiquitous. That totally changes everything to do with web and marketing. I mean, you remember like Facebook almost missed the boat on that. And then this totally changes the way people are behaving, because there's so many more options for entertainment. It's not just there's a few websites and you can get all the clicks there. It's people start to have YouTube, social media is taking off, there's podcasts. The amount of data in the world is just exploding. So there's just way more things competing for attention. And on top of that, Google got smarter. So SEO in this next phase of Google is what I call optimizing for smart robots. We're still optimizing for robots, but they got a little bit smarter. So instead of all of these here being a page, this is just using a tool that sort of combines, here's all these keywords, here's one topic, meaning you can probably create one page, because Google knows if I'm searching any variation of e-commerce fulfillment services, providers, solutions, I'm generally looking for the same thing. So that changed the game a lot. And then instead of just, if I'm trying to rank for inventory management, just writing inventory management a million times on the page, these tools came around that helped us optimize for what Google's looking for, which says, okay, if I'm an expert in inventory management, I should probably talk about cash flow, profitability, forecasting, et cetera, et cetera. And then instead of building weird links, you actually get rewarded more and more for building quality links from relevant pages. And then you're also optimizing for featured snippets, which are these things here. When I refer to rich results, it means basically anything in the results that gives me information so that I don't need to click through to something. So I want to say SEO improved, the practitioners improved, and the experience improved, but we weren't still really optimizing for attention. And by the way, I'm not trying to be on a soapbox here. I've definitely spent some time in the gutter, maybe not in the lowest levels, but I'm an SEO person at the end of the day. So I think right now what's happened is everyone is in an arms race to create the same page. And by the way, I'm talking more about B2B SaaS here, because the web and search has a lot of different verticals that are very different. So this is where I'm going to be leaning towards. But if you search anything in B2B SaaS, you find a lot of these pages that sort of go over what is this, examples of this. And it's basically everyone is incentivized to do the same thing, because in this paradigm, someone searches something and then we're all competing for this one click. So instead of being incentivized to create sort of more complementary things, it's, well, I know I can rank if I do something similar to them, so I'm going to do something similar to them. And again, I've spent a lot of time doing that as well. So there's not as many incentives to add unique value. It's just there's this inefficiency where if I write content similar to others, I can rank. So how I think company expectations evolved was honestly not that much, but somewhat. So now it's to rank, you create long text-based copycat content. A lot of people are like, I don't know if I would want to read this. I don't know if this makes sense. I don't know if this has hooks or is juicy. But even though it's getting more competitive, it's still possible to make money. It's harder, but it's still possible. And the goal is still ultimately the same. It's like, okay, whatever we got to do, I'll cover my eyes, do the SEO stuff, create the pages, we'll drive traffic, and we think it'll drive revenue. So we're kind of getting to this point where Google evolved, marketers evolved in other channels, users evolved because our behavior has totally changed over the last 10 years. But I think there's still a big gap between company SEO, again, specifically B2B, and users. So where we're at now, again, user behavior has continued to evolve really fast. And just some examples. I mean, there's all these stats about Gen Z uses TikTok more than Google, and people are spending more and more time on their screens. Attention spans are plummeting to nothing. So I firmly believe that attention, and not just how do I rank and get impressions, is going to be the most valuable currency in all of marketing. This is not an SEO specific statement. It's just, this is how it applies to SEO. And I don't think SEO has kept pace with the evolution of user behavior. And a lot of the time we're spending time trying to figure out how do we rank on desktop for something.